Hi, I'm Jessie,
Hi, I'm Lisa.
and this is Becoming. And we've been having a great week this week talking about beliefs. And actually, we started this because so many people in our lives were telling us that they were feeling quite down at the moment or just really struggling with some of their thoughts. And even though most of us know to be positive and to try like positive declarations and to look on the bright side, actually, a lot of people have been saying that that's just not working for them in this time. Now, obviously, we know we're in quite a dramatic pandemic time. Many countries with our followers in are having really serious lockdowns. So part of it's to do with that. But we just realized that we were struggling with some of that as well. And there's some really great tools that we can use to kind of get ourselves past those negative beliefs and actually start working on positive beliefs that are real and it doesn't just sound like we're saying it. So Lisa, you obviously work in mental health and have quite a lot of information about this. What can you tell us about why this happens?
Yeah, so I suppose some of the stuff we've been talking about in the journey that we've been on is around the idea that we're really aware of what our behaviours are because we're obviously doing it. And we're aware of what our feelings are and our emotions are because they're a driver for, and we're quite emotionally aware as a society at the moment. So you're aware if you're sad, you're aware if you're happy, you're aware if you're excited about something, if you're disappointed. We're sometimes less aware of what our thoughts are, but at the same time, we can get to our thoughts. So we can usually think about why am I feeling that way? Or this is what I'm thinking about that. So once we go searching for it, we can find it. One of the things we're much less aware of is kind of our unconscious drives. So, what are our impulses? What are our drives, our fears, our belief systems, our desires? They all run almost like an iceberg that, like, they're kind of under the water, so we can't see any of those or understand. So the part of that I suppose we've been talking about this week is around our beliefs. So what about our beliefs is driving our thoughts, which impact on our feelings and on our behaviors. And we've been having this conversation, I suppose, even in terms of our own lives, of when we're having a big reaction or when we're quite emotional about something or something is coming up for us. Why is it coming up? So you might notice, like, really simple things will start, you see, in what some of those beliefs are. So if you're watching a movie and you're having a massive reaction to something, like recognizing, oh, I'm having a huge reaction to that. Why am I having a big reaction to that? Or something simple like, if it's coming from an unconscious belief, then it's not something you're aware of. So your unconscious is something you're not aware of. If you're aware of it, that's brilliant, but then it's in your consciousness. It's part of your self-awareness. Even if you're still working on it, it's still something that's in your awareness. So the stuff that you're bringing up is really maybe something that friends are noticing, our family are noticing. So it's trying to, what we talk about becoming all the time, to live with an awareness of the people around us and actually the impact that we're having, because some of that will be from an unconscious space. And I know we've talked a little bit about how you've been looking at some of these beliefs in your own life. Obviously, you're in the middle of, you can explain, a career change currently, and that's bringing up all sorts of stuff.
Yes, it really has. So I think it's just good to realize that this stuff comes up in life changes and different areas of our lives. We never kind of get past having to assess sort of when emotions are coming up for us and how we want to move forward. And that's kind of part of the way we live at Becoming is being quite conscious about our actions and being purposeful about them. And so for me, I was a teacher for many years. I'm trained as a teacher, and I've since gone and studied sociology, which I know most of you will know, and I'm now doing a career change into research and policy. But that's actually been quite an intimidating process. So having a look at jobs, I've found that quite a lot of emotions come up for me in terms of feeling a bit anxious or feeling quite insecure about what I can bring in this new role, feeling quite uncertain about how to pitch myself. And so those are the emotions and the feelings that have been coming up for me. And I suppose through that, we've been having a lot of conversations about, but what are the beliefs that are driving those emotions? What's really behind them?
Yeah. And one of the things we've talked about and that we kind of wanted to bring you guys in on, and especially people that are talking about that idea of, look, I'm declaring things, I'm speaking positive things, I'm trying to stay positive, but I'm just not able. Like, and it makes total sense. It's been such a challenge in years. I think some of our natural, maybe less complex ways of motivating ourselves aren't really accessible to us at the moment. But one of the things that we've been talking about is the skill of wise mind. Now, some of you may be aware of this that are watching it, but wise mind is basically the space in between our emotional mind and our reasonable mind. So our emotional mind is that space where kind of our thoughts are around our emotions. So it's a big emotional response to something. So usually they're more distressing thoughts or more distressing emotions that we're kind of more aware of, but they're really our driving force. And emotional mind is built on what I want to do. So it's about your wants and your desires and where you're emotionally driven. Reasonable mind is on the other end of the spectrum, and that's kind of your really rational mind. So it's very logical, it's very factual, it's able to kind of weigh things up and see how you think about things, and it's very much the what you should do. And wise mind or kind mind or whatever you want to call it is this space in the middle of these two mindsets. And it's really helping us make sense of both and have a more balanced view, because I suppose the truth is that reasonable mind is right, but emotional mind needs to be heard and it needs to be soothed. So reasonable mind rushing in and telling yourself that you should and you have to isn't actually giving your emotional mind a chance at all to express what it actually needs. And emotional mind does have needs. So wise mind or kind mind is this space in the middle of, okay, what does wise mind think about that? So it gives you a chance to process and give space to both emotional mind and reasonable mind and find this space in the middle. And Jess, you've been using this in kind of specifically what you're walking through at the moment. And I found it really helpful for uncovering some of those beliefs and challenging them a little bit.
Yes, I've just found it's a really useful skill for life, the Wise Mind tool, because what it's meant for me is, especially in this example, so these feelings have been coming up where I felt quite insecure. And actually I've realized that is impacting my actions as well. So it's impacting the kinds of jobs that I'm applying for. And it was community that pointed that out to me. It was actually my friends that were like, why are you only applying for these really entry-level positions? And I suppose for me, it's because I'm moving into a whole new field. So I want to start at the bottom and I want to work my way up, and I want to be really, really, really trained before I can feel like I've got something to add to the role or something to bring to a company, when actually I have this other whole wealth of experience that could potentially mean that I could come in somewhere in the middle. So I suppose my emotional mind needed to be understood that it's scary applying for a new job. It's hard doing a career switch. And how I use this tool is to make it very external. So I need to get out of my head when I'm doing this. So what I will do is it always comes up as a negative emotion for me when I start to feel anxious or insecure or scared, or like I don't want to do the job applications anymore in this specific example, but you can use this in any area. I'll just write it all down. So it's really important to get out of your head and to write down every negative emotion that you're feeling, all of those thoughts like, I'm not going to do the job well, I really need to learn before I have something to bring, all of those things. And then to sit with that a little bit. And before I engage the reasonable mind, to engage the wise mind first. So I sit down, I stay still, I close my eyes, I give it a minute, and I invite my wise mind to speak into the situation. And at first, all of those emotions will be quite churny, but actually once it's settled a little bit, I can come to that place where I literally feel wisdom come up in me, and I can go, it is scary, but actually I'm a really capable person. I'm a really fast learner. I have so much to bring. And then once I've shifted that, and I'm able to then change the action, which to start applying for jobs that are a little bit more ambitious. And maybe I get them and maybe I don't. But what matters to me is that I'm believing in myself and not letting negative beliefs actually limit what I'm able to bring into my life.
Yeah. And I love there how you said it is scary, but because I think that's the difference in a declaration and in wise mind, is that you're not just declaring stuff or speaking stuff over actually how you're feeling, but you're allowing the feeling to be there. So emotional mind is allowed to be there of, this is actually really scary. This is a huge transition for me. But these are all the things as well that I can bring from reasonable mind. And I think with our faith as well, it adds another layer to it, because sometimes we do the reasonable mind of, well, I shouldn't worry about this because God has it and it's fine and I should just pray. But actually your faith can be a part of wise mind of, I still feel all these things, but I can still have faith in the midst of it. So faith doesn't exclude you from actually using any of these skills.
Yeah, and it's really good to keep should out of this whole process. I found that I've actually had to be quite conscious about that, and I find that's why I go straight to the wise mind. Actually, is because that reasonable mind, as you said, is often the one that's telling you what you should be believing. When you have to start where you are. Like, that's why it's so good to start with the emotion that's coming up. What am I actually feeling, and how can I let myself be heard? And then you get to really authentically move through, instead of just bullying yourself into being how you feel you should be, which never works. It'll always come up again.
Absolutely. So we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. We hope this helps in some way. Get in touch with us. Let us know if you're using Wise Mind or Kind Mind. And I suppose it just is so important in these days to be kind to ourselves in the processes of what we're going through. So moving ourselves into that wise, kind mind, but actually allowing us to do it in a gentle way is so important. So thanks for joining us, and we're sending lots of love from Becoming.